I've been in business specifically for like 2 decades. That's somewhere where I've been a little bit wavy in the past. There's not going to be, did you do a good job or did you do a bad job? It's how good of a job did you do? Or could you have done better? Or how bad of a job did you do? I feel like every day is ground zero. And I think that's what keeps me hungry.
Up until this point, what has been your biggest month to date in terms of revenue? And tell us a little bit about that.
Last month was the biggest month, like consecutively, which is 10K a month. This month is going to look a little bit bigger, probably closer to about 15 or 16. It is Thursday today, and I have put 25 clients on this week.
Wow. You booked 25
Yeah,
clients
so
this week.
again, I'm going to say it. No matter what you do in life, you're going to eat shit, but you might as well do it taking a risk that might pay off dividends as opposed to playing it safe. Because there's going to be that what if time, what if I did that, or what if I did that, or I should have done that, and you won't even know the answer. You won't know if that was the right decision to make.
Brilliant. Okay, Tony, thanks very much for doing this. I really appreciate it, brother. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome, Dylan. Thank you. And yourself.
Yeah, oh, well, grinding, getting into work, busy, busy. But yeah, no,
Good.
the first question I like to start off with is, I guess, what attracted you to SMMA? Why social media marketing? Or, tell me a little bit about what you liked about the model.
So it kind of goes into a transition from my background. So I'm a brick and mortar guy. I've been in the restaurant space for about over 20 years. My first business was a restaurant. At 19 would have been my first lease that I signed. But I took over a restaurant fully at 17 from the family business. But so I was used to brick and mortar. And, one of the things that I noticed is a trend that expenses were, rising. And we weren't making any more money. So, for example, year over year, we'd be doing, anywhere between 80 to $120,000 a month. And when I first started in the business, things were really lucrative, and you had an opportunity to make a lot of money. It was a cash business, which was great. A lot of moving parts, a difficult business, a lot of hours. However, I feel like, in any good business, you're going to put in a lot of hours, et cetera. But the expenses just started increasing and the margins just started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's been a few years before I exited my business that I looked for something that I can do, that I can create an impact, I can help people, but also a business that you can have not necessarily a low barrier to entrance, but more so you can keep the expenses to a minimum and maintain your profit margins.
100%. And I really like that point. That's something that I talked to the other guys about. The great thing about the marketing agency model is, your job by nature is to make other people money. So, you
Yeah.
get paid to change lives and create sales and revenue for other companies.
Hmm.
And it's very fulfilling. It's a very, very good model. It's very much a win-win. You get paid handsomely to do that. So it's a great model. And the thing I like, or what attracted me to it initially, was it's not like these surface level businesses you see online, like the drop shipping, Amazon FBA, where it doesn't really feel like in the day to day it's any sort of a significant business you're running. With the marketing or with the marketing agency model, you've got clients, you got to be good at sales, you got to be good at outreach, you got to be good at hiring. You're waking up every day and you have responsibilities. And while some people would see that as maybe a drawback or a lot of work, I actually like that because you're sharpening skills for life. You're sharpening skills you can leverage in many, many other facets of not just business and entrepreneurship, but life as well. So for me, that was a
100%.
huge aspect of it too.
Yeah, 100%.
So then my follow-up question to that would be, coming into from a restaurant background, coming into the agency model, and I guess before, as you were coming into the program, what were the weaknesses that you had that you need to sharpen, or the skills that you needed to sharpen in order to run a marketing agency?
Yeah, I think that one of the first conversations that I had with you, in anything that you do new, there's going to be a level of fear, right? And I think we spoke about this previously, but anything that you do from the beginning, it always feels hard, whether that be going to the gym, whether that be learning how to surf. You automatically feel like a novice no matter what your background is. And for me, going into a business where I'm the one walking into a business as opposed to a business where people walk into. And what I mean by that, in a restaurant, the marketing that you're doing without even realizing that you're doing it, is you're putting a sign outside of your business and people start walking in. So you can do, that's maybe 10 or 15% of actual marketing in a brick and mortar. But people will find out about you. There's going to be a word of mouth, and you think that you're making an impact. There's certain things that you're going to learn, and to answer your question, originally it was fear and unlearning more than learning. So I've learned a lot of these base lessons, in 20 years in business, from, working with people, whether it be contractors or employees, with service, dealing with customers, all those kind of things I've learned throughout my journey. I felt that SMMA would have been busy, would like any, digital business would have been different, sorry, would have been different than a brick and mortar, but technically a widget's a widget, right? You're selling to clients in order to turn a profit ideally. But for me, mostly it was unlearning some of those old habits and being open to change and overcoming certain fears. Even when it comes to I'm a pretty confident guy. Like if I go into a room, I'll, meet everybody within 15 minutes. It's just the way I am. It's the way I'm built, and I like it, right? Where my wife is the opposite. She takes me with her typically, so I can meet everybody, then introduce her, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to sales, you have this a certain mentality where you feel like you're at a deficit and you're asking people for something different, which you're not. And these are some of the things that I had to overcome. And the only way that you do is by putting in the reps, and that's from your coaching as well, just to talk about you have a base understanding about something, but as you get better, you just keep putting in the reps, and eventually things will get easier and easier. It's never easy. If it was easy, you'd go get a job. But I think it was mostly unlearning and overcoming small self-consciousness that I had, and more or less fear.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And I think the sales thing is an interesting one because you were probably used to like the traditional, I guess, method of sales where it's, you meet them in person, you shake their hand, whereas kind of almost like this new age of sales, it's pretty insane that, you meet someone on the internet over a Zoom call who you've not never met before, and 60 minutes later they can pay you thousands of dollars. For that to even exist in the first place is pretty
Yeah,
nuts. But
yeah.
we've worked on it a lot, what you can do in that 60 minutes, to reframe them, to get them around your side of the table, to, isolate objections. I think that's a huge, huge aspect of it. And again, that is such a skill to have in your locker for all aspects of life to really sharpen
Mhm.
something like that. And if you sharpen that skill, no matter where you go in life, no matter what you do, anytime you can get on the phone or you can get on a call and you can sell something. You can, whatever the
Mhm.
product is, whatever the service is, if you're good at sales, you can always make money, which is obviously a very, very good skill to have. So from when you started, tell us a little bit about Ground Zero. You come in at Ground Zero. What was landing that first client like? How long did that take? And what was that feeling like when that first client came in?
Man, so I feel like every day is ground zero. And I think that's what keeps me hungry. I'm still in the beginning stages of what I think my company is going to look like in the next 5 years. So I truly think that it's still being molded. When it comes to my first client, man, it felt like a disaster, right? It was funny because I always use the duck analogy, right? When you see a duck, swimming in the river, it looks so, peaceful and serene, but underneath you see the legs going like crazy, and that's what it was. It's about keeping a professional face to whomever that you're going to deal with, leaning into the ones that have done it before. So I currently work with a couple guys that have been doing this for a long time, which brings me confidence. So they could pick up the pieces where I am not 100% comfortable. And to be honest, guys like you, right? So when I started working with you, I gained different confidences. I did your course, I did other things, and it helped me with getting my first client, getting my second client, getting my third client. But you don't feel that confidence level until you get it, until you've done it, until you've received positive feedback. For me, anyways, like I said, I'm a fairly confident person in general. But if I'm going to do something for somebody, I want to make sure that I'm going to give them the best that I have and do the best. And if I say something, I'm going to do it. And the one thing with SMMA specifically, and that's why I'm not 100% only SMMA. I like building systems. That's my strength. But even just small systems that you can plug and play into businesses that have done really well for me so far. I don't know if I've answered the question correctly, but it's getting my first client was using everything that I've had in my past and then putting it into one person. But then it's not hanging your hat on that one person. It's you're going to run into problems. You're going to be, it's going to be chaos. However, eventually things are going to fall into place, and the second, the third, and the fourth client are going to be even easier. But that's the time to start building your systems. The time to start putting your SOPs together. That's the time to make the mistakes. And nothing's binary. Nothing's like yes or no. It's always how much, right? So did I do a good job? It's not yes, I did a good job or no, I did a good job. It's how much of a good job did I do, or how much of a bad job did I do, and how well can we do better, just to move that needle to be more of the exceeding expectation side, as opposed to someone being dissatisfied or you getting fired. My favorite part, and the conversation that I had with myself in the beginning is, whether it be in the restaurant business or whether it be SMMA or systems, for example, you're going to make a claim. You're going to put your money where your mouth is. You're going to do what you got to do, but ultimately it's not heart surgery. We're not saving the world here. We're
Yeah.
putting ads up for people. We are creating system for their business. Like, I know that some people, like especially in my niche with restaurants, some of them are hurting and they think that you're going to be their savior. Unfortunately, you're just a spoke in the wheel of their business, and there's a lot more to it. You have to recognize that, and you have to have a little bit of fun with it, and you have to enjoy what you're doing. But a very long-winded answer to your question. But you just got to do it, and do the best you can, and then the next time you'll do it a little bit better, and then you'll do a little bit better, and then you'll do a little bit better, and eventually you're going to come to a position that you're going to be able to delegate and expect that better from other people. And I think ideally that's the position that you want to be in.
100%. And there's a couple of things there that definitely jumped out at me. I think going at it with a value first attitude is something
Mhm.
that a lot of people don't do. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle to get their first couple of clients, because they're actually more concerned about making themselves money, when in reality, our job is literally to make other people money. So if you're
Yeah.
going in worrying about making yourself money, naturally there's going to be that friction. And I think what you did really, really well, and it comes across, you genuinely care about the client, that authenticity and that genuine nature about actually wanting to bring them value. And I think that comes from where you maybe had an advantage, because you're coming from literally client side. You had a restaurant, you dealt with
Yeah.
marketing agencies, you seen the good, you seen the bad, and that was almost like your unique mechanism. That was your unique angle. You were saying to these guys, look, I've been in your shoes, I know what you need, I know what you don't need. And I think that is a very, very important angle to come at it with. And then people come down to your level, they understand, they see that authenticity, and they like that ultimately. And that's how you're going to help you get your first client. Now, obviously, it's a journey. And I think everybody stops. It's almost like that meme. Do you know that meme where it's like a miner and he's like mining through like the soil, and like the gold is just on the other side, and he stops just
Yeah,
before
of
he gets to
course,
the
of
gold.
course.
I think a lot of people, that's like their first client. Like the first client, you never know when it's going to come, and it could come at like literally the least likely moment. But again, that just comes back to mindset. And that's something that you and I talk about quite a lot in terms of mindset. And, you got to commit. You got to be fully committed to this. You got to go with the good and you got to go with the bad. But no one's going to tie a successful marketing agency up and put it in your lap. Like, you got to get out there. And I know for a fact you've got out there. I think yesterday or the other day you told me you're up to 1,000 calls, and that's what it
Yeah, I'm
takes.
I'm I'm really close to it, and like I said, I've been in business specifically for like 2 decades, and I feel like this is the time that I got the shit kicked out of me the most. But you have to, pardon my French, but this is the time that you have to learn. If you're learning a new skill, you got to be you got to be bad at it first. You got to you got to suck, and you got to enjoy, you got to know the suck is part of it, and that's part of getting to the next level. And if that next level is just you being 10% more confident because all you're doing is picking up a phone and reaching somebody else on the other line, or if it's follow up, right? So if somebody is not calling you back and saying, "Oh, I don't, maybe they don't like me, or, maybe they think my product isn't good, or maybe I can't deliver," you know what? They're not thinking about you in the first place. People are too busy thinking about themselves, thinking about their life, their business, their wife, their friends, their whatever it is. They forgot about you 10 minutes after they hung up the phone. Your
Yeah.
job as the professional is to make sure that you are the one that's going to follow up professionally, that's going to keep in contact, uh, farm the relationship. You're going to build that relationship, and eventually that person's going to be like, you know what? I think these guys know what they're doing. right? If you're not a strong closer, and I'm not, it takes me a little bit of time to get to know somebody. I'm still working on my process, and I'm okay with that, right? So I want, as I become a better salesperson, as my closing percentage gets better, maybe I won't have to deal with that. But fostering the relationship, like even the relationship that you and I have, this is important. It's become like, a friendship. It's not. It's I can call you and ask you questions if I need to, and you're going to answer me because the mutual respect that we have. And I think that's what you want for your clients. You don't want a one and done. Hang up the phone, put their credit card in the system, and then be like, I got their money. Let's get out of here. Where the restaurant business and where marketing and agency work is really, really beneficial. And in my opinion, is not about getting customers. It's about keeping them. It's about the retention portion. It's about if you sell somebody once and they stay with you for the next 3 years, that's where the real money is. And like right now, where I am in my journey, the only customer that I lost was somebody who closed their business. It's unfortunate that they closed their business. They were just too far gone even before we started. I probably shouldn't have taken them on as a client in the first place. But the funny thing is they are doing another business, and they're very successful at it. And they're like, hey, I know your niche is restaurant, but like, do you mind doing my, other service-based business? And I'm like, of course, like I'm happy to help you. We have the relationship. I know what I can do and what I can't do, so let's work together. So they love the relationship, but it just wasn't right for what they had because they were just too far gone.
100%. And it goes back to, really, really putting that emphasis on retention and putting the
Yeah.
emphasis on actually getting your clients. It sounds so simple. It sounds so like logical, but so many people overlook it. Like
Yeah.
your main focus should be being amazing at what you do. If you aren't amazing at what you do, you need to get amazing at it, because
Yeah.
if you land 10 clients and you're really good at what you do and you keep those 10 clients for, the LTV is 9, 12, 18 months, whatever it is, it's going to make your
Mhm.
life a lot easier on client
Yeah.
acquisition, because that pressure is not going to be on. You're not going to have to constantly refill your bucket every
Yeah.
single month. And it's stressful. That's not what you want. And it's a fundamental pillar of business, specifically in the SMMA space, that I think is overlooked too often. And I think you 100% epitomize that, because anytime we've spoken about getting clients or anytime we've spoken about service delivery, your first thought is always, how can I get my clients better results? And I think,
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
definitely something to learn from that. Any younger guys or any agency owners out there watching this, that's a lesson. If you take anything away from this video, I think that should be one of the main things.
Yeah, I think delivery is crazy important. The way that you're going to retain your customers is by doing a good job. And again, I always revert to the restaurants just because it's kind of what I know. Like I said, the first restaurant I took over was a family business at 17 years old. When I sold my last business, which again is 20 years later, the children that were coming into my business were bringing their children, right?
Mhm.
So, you can imagine the retention of a customer when you do a really good job, when you exceed expectations. All you're trying to do is delight your customers. And I think the main things that you have to do in any service-based business, SMMA or service-based, whatever it might be, it's just constant communication. It's just touch base. It's just to let them know that you're there, and again, not set it and forget it. It's to nurture that relationship consistently and constantly. And the best part is business owners know business owners. Two of the clients that we have right now are referrals, right? And for somebody to refer you within the first 6 months to a year in your business, that's pretty awesome. So those are the easiest customers I've gotten, because they're already primed to know that you do a great job, and coming from somebody that's already feeling the success. So it's very humbling. It's a really great feeling.
100%. Referrals is it's definitely a nice little bump when you get those referrals. And yeah, you'll
Yeah.
never get an easier sale than word of mouth, someone who has recommended you in a
Mhm.
positive way. So yeah, I 100% agree. So we've done all the high value stuff. Let's get into some of the juicy stuff. People are probably wondering on the other ends of the phone or laptop, whatever they're watching on. So up until this point, what has been your biggest month to date in terms of revenue, and tell us a little bit about that.
I think it might be underwhelming to a lot of people, but like I said, I'm within my first year. I sold my last business in October and then went into this in January. And again, swimming like a duck, kind of trying to learn as much as I can, working with you. So it's been I anticipated to be a multimillionaire by now, and it's not the case. But last month was the biggest month, like consecutively, which is 10K a month. This month is going to look a little bit bigger, just because we took a new, sorry, last month was about 10K, and this month is going to be a little bit bigger because we took a deposit for some other work that we're doing, just systematizing their business, building out funnels for them, etc. So we took a larger deposit. However, this month as well, we built a system that allows restaurants to get reviews automatically and filter out the negative reviews, which I'm sure people are familiar with. We just catered it directly to restaurants. Because of my experience, I was able to do it. So it's a system that we put in place. We charge anywhere between $100 and $300 for, and it is Thursday today, and I have put 25 clients on this week.
Wow. You booked 25
Yeah,
clients
so
this week.
this week. So
Is that on the
you and
new
I,
ad
we talked.
campaigns? Or where have they come
That's,
from?
I guess it would be more so affiliate, right? So I have connections within the business that they have similar systems, but not exactly what I do. And what they want to do is provide value for their customers. So we
Okay.
worked out a price that was lucrative for them, lucrative for me. And they just started making phone calls, and they were all on board. So it was really, really cool. So we're working out the kinks of that. I'm going to stop right now. I'm going to cap it right now at 25 customers, build them out, get paid, and then as long as everything's working like really smooth, then we're gonna jump into ads.
Sick. So last month
That's
was
crazy.
10K. What's next month looking like?
So, I mean, let's say on average, like it's small ticket. So, it's probably going to be probably closer to about 15 or 16, I think by the end of the month. If all goes well, we'll see how it goes, and I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I've never, like I said, I was getting my teeth kicked in for the last, 6 months, and a lot of phone calls. However, just having something that people really want is really cool, right? So I've obviously taken the time. I built it myself. I didn't get somebody to do it for me. I really catered it to the niche. So I made sure that it's very niche specific. So as soon as I explained it to them, they were like, "Yes, I love it. I want it." And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Like I think I don't know why you said that would be underwhelming. Like I think those results are amazing. Obviously, there's external factors there. Like you've got a very very strong core team there,
Hmm.
and your margins or whatever. But like if just looking at that, in isolation, you started this business last January and you're at a six
Yeah,
figure run rate. Like that's incredible, and I don't think you should play that down. And like
never
it
thought
is an
about
incredible.
that.
It's
Yeah,
an
I
incredible
guess
achievement.
yeah, I'm comparing it a little bit, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, of course, you're probably comparing yourself maybe to other people or comparing yourself to businesses you've had in the past. But if you just look at
Yeah.
that purely in isolation, like that is a very, very impressive achievement. And
Hmm.
that's a 1% achievement. Not many people in the entrepreneur space, let alone the agency space, will see those kinds of numbers. So I think you've high standards for yourself, which is obviously amazing. And that's why that's why you're probably similar to myself. Once you hit a certain landmark or a certain revenue number, you're thinking about the next thing and the next thing, 30, 50K,
Yeah,
100K. How am I getting to that? You're
yeah,
not even giving yourself credit for where you've come. So I think that's a very, very impressive achievement. And I don't think many agency owners would turn their nose up at that. So I think you should definitely be very proud of that. Of course, we want to push the boat out. We want to get to 20K. We want to get to 50K. We want to get to 100K.
yeah,
But you have to get to 10K in order to get to those numbers. And that's what I tell people,
yeah,
when they onboard with me and they tell me their goal is, 50K a month. And I'm like, okay, well, let's get, our first client and then let's get to 10K per month. And then we can start looking at those kinds of things. But it's a stepping stone and this is a journey. You
yeah,
have to remember that you're 1 year into your journey. Where are you going to be in 3 years? Where are you going to be in 5 years? As you say, you got some lofty goals and you're definitely on the right path. So that's what I would say to that. I don't downplay that. That's you put in the work and now the results, and it's exponential. It took you 12
yeah,
months to get to 10K, probably take you 6 months now to get to 20K, and then it gets bigger and bigger. And then we talked about the ad campaigns you're starting to run, and then you start to get some momentum. So it's very much exponential growth from here.
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to, and a mentor said this to me is, if you want to exceed your own expectations, just set the bar lower. But I mean, I don't think that's how you really grow. Is you got to set the bar as high as you can, And even if you get 75% of that, that's pretty cool. A lot of my goals, they're not financial. They are obviously financials, a key ingredient here. Some of it's about systemization. Some of it's about, having balance. I know some of the entrepreneurs, they might not like that word, balance, but I think it's super important. And as I'm growing older, and I've been in the business industry for a long time, I've taken decades out of my life where all I did was work, work, work. And work is absolutely important. But it's the things that work can give you, things that your own business can give you, that balance, that sense of freedom, flexibility. When you want to take somebody out for dinner, you don't want to look at the bill. That's what entrepreneurial being an entrepreneur can give you. I mean, a job can give you that as well, don't get me wrong. But I mean, if you want to get up and leave and go, you have that flexibility. So it's a combination of both financial goals and then balance and goals. I mean, I don't want to sound soft, but I know what it's
No,
I know what it's
no.
like to work 100-hour weeks. First 5 years of my fifth restaurant, which would have been 13 years ago. I never saw daylight. Yeah, I would go to the store at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I would leave between 9 and 10 o'clock at night on the days that the hours weren't as open. And that's not including my paperwork, my accounting, my all that kind of stuff. And again, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, it can be tough at times because you have to wear a lot of hats. You got to be the accountant, you got to be the bookkeeper, you got to be in SMMA, you got to be the media buyer, you got to be you're only as strong as your team. What you're great at, do. What you're not great at, delegate. And it might mean a little bit less money in your pocket, but if you have somebody on your team that can do what takes you 10 hours in 1 hour and they do a better job, just delegate it, get rid of it, get that person to do it. Figure out the SOPs, figure out the control, have an understanding, have a basic understanding about how things can be done. So that way you can know what the capabilities are and aren't. Know what a P&L is, know the numbers and the percentages of a business. Anybody whether it's SMMA or you're in construction, you have to know your numbers. If you don't, what you don't measure, you can't improve. So know your numbers, create those like the statistics, the KPIs, everything that you need, put them in the beginning, and then be committed. So whether it's committed to do 10 calls a day or 100 calls a day, 50 calls a day, or outreaches, just have a commitment and then follow that commitment. That's somewhere where I've been a little bit wavy in the past, where I said, you know what, I'm going to do 50 calls today, and I only did 10. I said I'm going to do 10, I did none. And then there's other times where, bang out 50 to 100 calls in a day. You're not speaking to 50 or 100 people, but you're calling a lot of different people. It's just part of the game, but be committed. It's you can't be half pregnant. You either are or you're not. So if you want to be a business owner, be a business owner. Don't be, oh, I just want to sell a couple of media buy, like, sell my media buyer to some guy, make a little bit of money, and then I'm going to take off with my girlfriend. No. If you're going to promise a business that you're going to be the person that's going to service that person, be a business that people want to work with. And I think that's the most important thing.
100%, 100%. I completely agree, which is a nice segue into, you know, the next question is coming into the program, coming into Agency Accelerator, what were your favorite aspects or what helped you the most? Was it that one-to-one support? Was it the accountability? Was it the resources? What moved the needle for you?
Man, I feel like you're going to, I mean, you're a little bit younger than I am, but I also feel like you're going to forget more than I'm ever going to know. Working with you not only brings myself confidence, for you as a coach, but also the information that you have within the business. Like I know you've been a business owner for a long time. You've had success in your own business, but now the way that you can bite size a lot of the information and put it into like a palatable, digestible way that other people can learn it is crazy valuable. I wish I had that skill. And so whether it be the one-on-ones, which were always like crazy valuable, even like the 10-minute segue calls that we had between calls, when I was traveling or something like that, were crazy valuable. But even just the course stuff that you put out is it's awesome. And I paid for other courses. Like I'm not just the Dylan Power fan. I've done other courses. I've done ones that are more expensive. I've done ones that are that promise a lot more, that are lofty. One of the things that I liked originally when I started working with you is you were selling me an outcome, and the outcome was palatable. It was achievable. And then we exceeded those expectations. You didn't say, "Hey, I promise you're going to be a bazillionaire in the next 6 months," which is the claim that a lot of coaches put out there. But you're really good at what you do. The one-on-ones are crazy valuable. But even the course content that you put out is top notch.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, man. It makes my life much easier when clients like you come in and I can see like the work ethic, I can see the authenticity, I can see the drive. It makes my life a lot easier in terms of coaching you because it's a skill. It's obviously a skill being a good coach, but it's a skill being a good client. Like, it's very much a 50-50 partnership, and we have to work together in order to get you the results. But I think, as I say, it's a journey. Like it is very, very much a journey. Everybody's on a different journey. I get asked all the time, when am I going to get my first client? Generally, how long does it take to get to 10K? All these kind of questions. And it's a very,
Yeah.
very difficult question to answer because there's just so much external factors. What I can say on something like that is I think with the agency model, with the marketing model, it's very much if you show up every day, if you're consistent, it's very, very difficult not to book meetings and not to at least land a couple of clients. Like you could have a crappy
Mhm.
offer, you could have, janky operations, a mismatched team. But if you show up every single day and you're putting your face or your message or your offer in front of enough business owners, eventually you're going to come across someone who on that day needs a marketing partner or their business has dropped or their lead gen isn't working. You're eventually going to find someone so you can
Yeah.
imagine if you have a good work ethic, you have a good team, you have a good offer, you have a good pricing, all of these things line up, that's when you start to get great results. And I think that's what you did. And you put in your due diligence alongside your experience in the restaurant space and knowing the niche inside out. And you really put in the hours and you put in the work. And I think you're starting to see the results.
Yeah, finally. I say finally because, when you start your business, there's going to be expenses, and then those expenses are going to add up as you don't get customers or clients. And but that's just business. You have to put the time in, you have to put the money in, you have to put the investment in. And again, going back to earlier in our conversation, it's not binary. There's not going to be, did you do a good job or did you do a bad job? It's how good of a job did you do? Or could you have done better? Or how bad of a job did you do? Did you show up today? Yes, you sat at your desk. Now, was 80% of that, emails and YouTube? Hey, I've had those days. I've had those days where like, hey, I got to learn something. I got to do something. And I avoided outreach, but there's only a few things that are going to get you new customers, and it's going to be awareness. It's going to be getting in front of people. It's that's the only way that's going to happen. And like you said, you're going to make a phone call that I should call that guy. Or and a lot of like the time it's a warm network. Business owners know business owners, so a lot of my warm network, they know me as somebody who flips burgers. I had a burger shop. So they're not like, oh, you're like an incredible marketer, or you know what you're doing, or you have an agency. It's just about harvesting the relationships, letting them know what you can do. If you can do something for them for free, do it. If you can bring them some type of value, do it. And a lot of the time, business owners are just busy running their business. But if you see something because you've done a few YouTube videos on, their Google business profile, and or you see that their website, there's links that aren't working, provide that value to somebody because they're just too busy doing something different. They're too busy working in their own business instead of on their business, and people will pay you to think for them. And in a lot of ways, that's what's happened. Is I'm like, so what are you doing now? What are your goals? It's, creating the gap when in the sales process. And then it's a simple question. Well, if you're not doing anything and you want certain results, wouldn't like doing something actually give you better results? And that not only in marketing, that could be in, review management. It could be in looking at your numbers. It could be getting a bookkeeper. It could be a lot of different things, but people will pay you to think for them because they're just too busy in their business and in their own world. If you can be a professional at what you do, whether that be, marketing, or whether that be systems, or whether that be creating websites, you be that professional, provide the value for the person, you're going to get paid.
100%. 100%. I completely agree. And sometimes people can overcomplicate the agency space and marketing in general. Like ultimately, you just want to sell people what they want. If you can sell people what they
Hmm.
want and you can provide a good service and do a good job, you're going to make money. Like it's very, very
Yeah.
simple. As I say, if you just show
Yeah.
up every day and get your face and get your message in front of enough people, someone's going to give you a
Hmm.
shot no matter, even if you have a crappy offer, you're eventually going to get a shot. So I completely agree. And we'll give this final question and I'll give a question and you can put it out to anyone who's watching this. What would you say,
Wicked.
someone who's watching this, maybe someone who's younger than you, maybe they're inexperienced and they're struggling right now. They're struggling to land their first couple of clients and they're feeling frustrated, overwhelmed. They're maybe considering joining an agency accelerator. What would you say to that person?
So I think that I'm going to say two things. Number one is time or money, right? So you can either put in the time and eventually you're going to figure it out, or pay someone to help you figure it out a lot faster. And that's like, find a coach that fits your personality, that fits you, somebody that you can relate to. You specifically, Dylan, would probably wouldn't be my first choice because of the age gap or whatever it is. But once I got on the phone with you, we started talking, and I realized the person that you were the right fit for me. And I think that's with any business is you want to look for that right fit. And I think that that's the main thing is think about your time, think about your money, what's more valuable. If you don't have a lot of money, you're going to have to put in the time, but you can shortchange that gap by investing into a coach and investing into programs and educating yourself and then putting in the work because education without work is just nothing. And that's number one. So think about your time, think about your money, invest into yourself. Books and coaching and all that kind of stuff is just the most valuable resource there is, which is wisdom, in my opinion. That's number one. Number two is I think about it in this way. If what would I tell myself 10 years ago if I was to do it all over again? The answer that I would like what I would say to myself is Tone, just do what you want. Ask that girl out, call that person, take that dive, like jump in like head first, do what you got to do. You're going to eat, again, I'm going to say it, you're going to eat shit. No matter what you do in life, you're going to eat shit. But you might as well do it taking a risk that might pay off dividends as opposed to playing it safe and never taking that risk. Because there's going to be that what if time, what if I did that, or what if I did that, or I should have done that, and you won't even know the answer. You won't know if that was the right decision to make. A couple years ago, my wife and I, we were really contemplating what we wanted the next 10 years of our life to look at. We sold one of our properties. We moved to Europe for 8 months and bought an apartment, and we were living by the ocean and it was amazing, but it wasn't life. Like it wasn't what we wanted. But how would we ever know that if we didn't do it? Now, we came back. Now I live back home. I'm in Canada. I'm just outside of Toronto. We bought a beautiful property here that we're really happy with. But if I never took that leap of faith and moved across the world to see if maybe that life over there is going to be better than my life over here, I would have always said, what if? So, you know, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. You got to jump in head first and you're going to eat shit. So just do it anyways. Because whether it's your dream or it's somebody else's dream, it's going to hurt a little bit. So just might as well be your dream.
I love it. I love it. You're getting me pumped up. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm on a Tony Robbins conference or something here. I'm pumped. I'm ready to start another business right now. No, I love that. That's yeah. I second all of that. I couldn't have put it better myself. And I hope anybody who's watching this is getting pumped, is getting motivated, and yeah, take the risk. To me, actually, the way I look at it, it's much less of a risk than actually you think, because 40 years of corporate slavery to me is the risk. It's the real prison. So,
Oh yeah.
you've got to choose your hard. Whatever you do in life, it's going to be difficult. Taking that chance, committing to starting your own business and just putting in the work, I think your future self's gonna hugely thank you for that. So on that
Yeah.
note, we'll leave it there. I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate you doing this, Tony. As this was fun. And thanks again, man.
Yeah, thank you, Dylan. You're the best. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And yeah, it was great being here.